position myself so you could see. There you go. You can see some mountains. I tried to let you guys see down the valley, but there was so much sun pouring through that it was making it dark. So, hey, when you join us, tell me in the comment section where you're joining me from. I always love knowing that, like Dr. Sabrina just said, which I think is genius. We're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. And that's really near and dear to my heart. For those of you who know me well, know that my husband and I have done a lot of boating here in Alaska. And I'm very, very thankful that he is an awesome captain and mariner and has always chosen very safe boats for us, and have seen others when we've been in storms and boats that aren't as strong or aren't as seaworthy. And even though we're in the same storm, we're going to fare better because of our boat. So Sabrina, thank you so much for joining me today. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Central Arkansas, in a small town of Beebe, Arkansas.
I love that. And how big a town do you live in?
This is about, we're about 7,000 people in town. Our school district draws from about 15,000, so we've got a good draw area, but we're about 35 miles from Little Rock. Mm-hmm.
So for all of those who are watching this and you're wanting to open in a small town and maybe somebody has told you, you got to be in a big town, that is not true. The town that I practiced in was about 5,000 people, and certainly had surrounding communities, just like Dr. Sabrina is talking about. But here's my philosophy. It's kind of like, if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. That there, if it was really just about being in a big city, then that would mean every practice that's in a big city does very well and serves a lot of people, and that's not true. So our practice is definitely a direct reflection of who we are. Mm-hmm. So, what does that mean to you that we're in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat?
Well, I think all of us are in different places, and it may be, a new practitioner versus someone who's been in practice for a while. It's hard to say, but the thing is that I know that fear, has a big thing that kind of creeps in on us. And with what first came with this situation there was a lot of fear at first, even though you try to squash it down, put it back, whatever you want to do with it. But there is some, what does this mean for me or my business, my family? One thing I never really was concerned about at all was getting COVID myself. That was not a fear for me, I just didn't have that. But the thing was but what about my business, my employees, what have you? So I can understand being in practice a shorter period of time, or maybe not being as prepared for an event like this, how it would be different. The boat would be a lot rockier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be necessarily as big.
Right.
Like if you're
absolutely
in a bad storm and you're on a 40-foot boat compared to a 21-foot boat, that's a substantial difference,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In terms of your stability and lots of other things. And you and I both as leaders, obviously our job is to cast vision, hold accountable, and create culture. And in times like this, it's really important to have that vision while also being able to focus on, especially when we get all like spun out of, oh my gosh, what ifs, right? We get all spun out of being stressed out. And before we went live, you said one of the things that you try really hard to focus on is just like, what's the next thing? What do you typically come to when you ask yourself that question? What is the next thing that you're focusing the most on?
Well, right now, we've gone through different phases in this already. And, first, of all, was just thinking about what can I do right now? So one, we caught up on some things that we didn't have time to do. We had some manuals that needed done. We had some policies and procedures that need to be rewritten, revisited, what have you. I assigned different different webinars and stuff to different members of the staff. That sometimes that's something I lack in leadership, is the accountability of that. So I had a little more time to say, okay, I want you focusing here. And so that was kind of the first phase of it, was just kind of like, what can we do right now? So we really didn't want to do a lot of recall as far as we need to get you in here, but we did recall in the fact that, hey, Mrs. Jones, how is has this affecting you? Is there anything you need? We're here still to serve you. Feel free to call us. Make sure you're getting up and moving frequently. Drink plenty of water. Eat some healthy foods. Get some exercise during this downtime. Because a lot of people just froze. Us included. So in myself, I had to just stop and go, because I was eating terrible, and all of a sudden I had to do a reset and kind of go, all right, it is Whole Foods. This is going away. No more snack foods. Because I found myself just falling in that trap as well.
You bring up a really good point, that when this hit, I feel like most of us treated it more like, oh, cool, it's a vacation. And on vacation, a lot of times we eat crappy and sleep in and maybe get off our schedule and all of that. And then when it became apparent that this isn't going away very fast, I think that's really when the panic set in, to think this is going to be the norm for a while. And I think not only the norm for a while, but, moms became homeschoolers overnight, and
Absolutely.
their practices, and now their spouse was working from home. And, it really gives me a lot of tenderness towards families that were trying to homeschool their kids. Mom's trying to run her practice, or dad's trying to run his practice, and then the other spouse is working. And a lot of times when you're raising a young family, you don't have a big home. And so everyone's on top of each other, and, siblings are siblings, and many times that creates some fighting. And so for all of you who are out there and you're feeling like, like now maybe you have some new norms, like, be really proud of yourselves. And I hope that families are really celebrating that you bonded together and you made it through and you figured it out. And I want to just encourage all of you to look at how far you've come in this storm, and recognize, like, if this is our new norm for a while, you figured it out. Like, you figured out our new way. I know in the boot camp there are several women that have had closed head injuries, and they had to figure out a new life. Like, it wasn't going to go back to the way it used to be. Like having a baby, right? Like, talk about topsy-turvy, the world turning upside down, and it's never going to go back to the way that it used to be. Sabrina, something that I have noticed, we're talking about big boats and little boats, right? So if we go to the little boat, like a new doctor, there aren't as many moving parts on a small boat, right? Like, having owned several really big boats, they're almost like floating houses, right? So there's all kinds of systems that have to work well, and it's a huge responsibility versus a little boat. It's kind of like a big practice and a small practice. So while the new doc is like, I don't really have a lot of practice members, they have less to manage. And my experience has been that there are a lot of docs that have been in practice that are kind of like, you know what, I don't want to have to do the hustle again. Like, I've done the hustle. What advice have you hit that during this, given the fact that you've been in practice for decades? Have you had that conversation with yourself?
Yeah, I have, and part of it is, you get into a role where you are geared up all the time, and you're booked out, days, weeks, months in advance, not just in practice things, but in personal life. And it took a moment to decide that, it's going to be okay to slow down for a little bit. Just kind of take a little pause here. Fortunately, in Arkansas, we've been able to stay open, and volume, it dropped to probably 25% down at one time, 25 to 30. But for the most part, we've not taken a huge hit. So I'm blessed by that, I know. But, one thing I want to point out too, Barbara, one thing I anchored myself to when going through this was that what have I conquered before that seemed impossible in the beginning? And that was one thing that, you know, I mean, that I kind of went, okay, you made it through that, you'll make it through this. And in the same way with new docs, young docs, you know, what have you, you don't have as much maybe to build on right now, but now's the time to build that practice too. I'm working on the referral gift packets and, you know, how are we going to apply these? Where are they going to go? You know, we've done similar things in the past, but, you know, this is kind of a new thing. So what can we do right now to be ready when this thing is back to rolling, as we get freed up more to do what we need to be able to do? I mean, we had to start wearing masks this week. First time, you know, and I'm hypoxic because of it. You know, I just feel like I've had altitude and lack of oxygen. And so there is going to be things we're going to go through in this, but we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to encourage all of you that you can train your mind to do that. Those of you who've been watching me much in the last, I guess, 2 months, you know, I'm a big fan of Mel Robbins' book, Take Control of Your Life. And in that book, she identifies that in life, we have triggers. Those triggers change our physiology. Like we have a physiological response that leads to certain thoughts, then actions, and then rewards. Like, so let me give you an example. I guess this would be a funny example. Let's say that you're in practice and you've been in practice a long time and you're knee deep in paperwork in the back of your office and the door goes ding. I just have like 3 more reports to do. Are you kidding?
Absolutely.
Right. And then as soon as that ding happens, you have a physiological response and then your thoughts, oh, I just have a few more reports to finish. Right now, then our actions are a habit. Like we either get up and immediately serve, or we think, you know what, they can sit there for a few minutes. I mean, after all, they're early, right? Instead of being in a hurry to serve. Now, that physiology, when it hit a trigger, it caused you to like be heightened, and then your thoughts caused you to slow down, right? Like where a new doc, they hear the ding, their physiology goes flying high, and then their thoughts go flying high, like, oh, yay, it's a new practice member. I hope it's not the UPS guy again, right? And then action. So I want to encourage all of you that exact like reframe that Dr. Sabrina just talked about, of saying, all right, let me just think about the tough times that I've had in my life. Did any of them really beat me down? Like, we all made it through Chiro school. We made it through national boards. We made it through, for those of us who did like a Tri-Zero or an accelerated program before we started Tri-Zero. You know, we made it through childbirth. We made it through a marriage. We made it through divorce. We made it through, like, we've made it through so much, right? That you can train your mind to immediately think of, okay, I've met circumstances before. I've met challenges before. What did I do? Like it's a habit to, when you get triggered, to think, oh my goodness, I'm never going to make it out. You know, it's all part of your training. So Sabrina, what are some of the things that you tell yourself? Like, so when you got triggered, especially at the beginning of being kind of stressed out, what were the common things that you told yourself, and how did you keep you and your team moving forward? Well, your practice is only down 25%. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. And one of the things, you know, even in this situation before, you know, if we start having like bad thoughts or negative thoughts or what have you, you know, we just say cancel. And even in the office, if we hear a staff member saying something that is on the negative side, or maybe they're talking about there's something in their personal life and it's during business hours, you know, we just kind of have that code word, you know, cancel, because we can shift, you know, our thoughts so quickly with a code word or whatever. And one thing that came to mind in this whole thing is we have an opportunity almost to rebuild. And if we look at it like opportunity, it's kind of like we do get excited again. What do I want to revamp? Do I like what my practice looks like? Do I want to change some things about it? Now's the time to set some of those wheels rolling. And you was talking about reports. That's one thing I did in this thing, is kind of like, okay, all this loose stuff that's on my desk where there are either ideas or, what have you, that hasn't been manifested yet. Are we going to keep it or toss it? You know what I mean? I've cleaned out clutter. We were cleaning out storage, getting rid of old files, or putting them into the electronics. There's so many things that we've done along that line just to kind of create more energy, and we've sat down and just kind of go, okay, what are we doing well? What are we not? We've had more meetings during this than typical, because, I've wanted to take advantage of some of this time to kind of go, and two, side of the line here is to check in with your staff. How are you doing? Because there's a lot of anxiety for them too,
Right.
Yeah. And how can they help best serve our patients and stuff. But, another thing, Barbara, I did that I had to do was limit how much exposure I had to the news and the coverage of all this, because
Amen.
I would go home, if it was on the TV or whatever, I'd be like, okay, I'd get the updates. Don't get me wrong. I feel like that was important. What's the trend in Arkansas? What's going to affect me right now? But all this batter back and forth between the networks and media and stuff, I just shut it down. I was like,
Yeah.
that's not going to serve me, any at all. So.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you the last time I watched the national news. Like, I watch our local news, which ends up being about, out of an hour broadcast, it's about 50 minutes weather, which is so funny. It's kind of a big joke between Ben and I, but I agree with you. And listen, to all of you, if it causes you stress, eliminate it. If this thing causes you stress, if social media causes you stress, there's nothing that says, as a business owner, you have to be on it as much as you want. And it's amazing how easy it is to justify even things that are bad for us. Like, I'm stressed, I'm going to eat. Well, my business, I have to be on social media. No, you don't. Go on and do your job and get off. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours on it. And I want to remind all of you who are raising children, and you still have children in your home, that we pass on, and I learned this from Dr. Monica Berger at the Peds Boot Camp, we pass on our stress response 14 generations. So what happens is how you respond to stress, your children watch your face, they watch your body, they feel your energy, and then they take all of that in, and then patterns are formed. So, we're all in a really critical place with our kids. If you were raising kids at your home, for how are they going to respond to stress? And you know what? This may become more common. I don't know. I mean, I never dreamed I'd see something like this in the United States of America. And here it is. It's been going on for however many weeks. So I would say it's really important for your kids to learn by watching your example of, how do we handle something like this? Like, what is our first response? Do we run? Do we stand and fight? Do we just go into like strategy mode? Like, they are watching you, and you can only fake it so long. Right. And I just want to encourage those of you who are in practice and doing a great job. Like, thank you. Thank you for doing a great job, and not thank you just through COVID, but thank you for all your legwork up until this point. And I keep hearing, oh, I'm so glad I did such great education. Remember, that's only one part of it. That retention is relationship plus education. You can't just focus on relationship and not have education. You can't just focus on education. So you've done a really, really awesome job. And for those of you who your practice members split when this thing hit, it's okay. Like, today, start with a message that is something that they missed, that now in the COVID recovery, they can grab hold of. And please remember that just because you said it yesterday doesn't mean everyone heard it today, right? That they need to hear it again, because the first law of learning is repetition. I think sometimes we try to make it so fancy that we overcomplicate it, and then it loses its punch. But it's really important just to keep things simple. For those of you who've heard me, physical, chemical, and emotional stress greater than your body's ability to adapt causes subluxation. It's like me trying to talk with my hand over mouth. No matter how important that message is, even no matter how high, like how loud I scream, you can't hear me because there's interference with the communication. It's exactly what happens to your body. And now all of you are experiencing a higher degree of that because we have more chemical stress, because we have more physical stress, and because we have a more emotional stress. So you have two options. You can choose for your brain to not communicate to your cells and tissues and wait for disease to ripple through your body, or you can call my office today for a checkup. I'll do a comprehensive chiropractic evaluation. I'll tell you what I find. If I can help you, I'll lay out a plan. If I can't, I'll find you exactly somebody who can. But the most important thing is decide if you want disease to be a part of your current life and in your future, or if you'd like to get out in front of it. Same message for 21 years. It's boring. It's boring. But you know what? Somebody who's never heard it before, or maybe never grasped it before, it's brand new. So Sabrina, how do you share the chiropractic message? Let's hear how you do it.
Oh gosh. It pretty much the same way, because we just talk about the connection between your brain and spinal cord and your environment and how things begin to affect that. We use the Insight Millennium scanner, in the office. And so that's a great tool that we use to kind of show how stress affects your nervous system. We tie everything back to the nervous system, but to try to get that message out there first, is to just tell them, there's a disconnect, there's not enough message getting through. So organs and glands are not going to function properly. And if so, then you can't express yourself to your full potential. And, that can be manifest in a variety of ways, but yeah, it's to have that 3-minute or less elevator speech, is kind of fun to practice that because we've done it for so long, for so many years. Well, what is subluxation? Well, it is kind of like you said, but it's such a wonderful thing that we do, and I think we need to get back and really grasp the basics, right now, and we choose whether to react or respond to all this stuff that's going on. What I mean? But the bottom line, get back to basics, get back to that message. And one thing you said about contacting people, we think sometimes if we contact them more than once that we're bothering them. Well, I found even still that we're contacting people, well, I didn't know you were still open,
Every Monday, remind them you're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every other business is changing week to week. And so it's just a great reminder. Hey, just want to let you know, we're open to serve you today. You and your family come in and get checked. It's a place that families can still go. So, well, Sabrina, I want to tell you congratulations. Thank you for standing and serving and being there for the people in Beebe, Arkansas. And thank you for being a really active member in our tribe and answering so many questions and being faithful to be present on the Wednesday live group coaching calls. And you're just doing a really great job. I'm super proud of you.
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad to be a member of this group. And if I can help anybody, my door's open. New doctors, if there's anything I can help you with, I'm just a phone call or message away. So
that's awesome. I love our tribe for that. Like everyone's like, oh, call me, I can help you. Like let's get together. So it's a wonderful thing. So to all of you, God bless you. Have a wonderful night. And remember, this too will end. And we will absolutely make it through. We are in the same storm. We are in different boats. I got room on my boat if you want to come on over. So all of you have a great night. Thanks again, Sabrina.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.